Hi everyone or anyone who might get to see this, who knows. Today is January 22nd, 2022. So that kind of has the 4-4 in there, which is my number. But yeah, I wanted to talk about our species specific diet. Now that people are waking up to so many things, we have to wake up to that too. We are frugivores. Look at us. Look at our teeth. Look at our digestive system. Look at our anatomy and physiology. We are frugivores. And if we eat our species specific diet, we'll be healthy and vital and robust and full of energy and full of magnetism, which creates electricity. People say we're electric beings, but we're really magnetic beings. Electricity is the downward causation from magnetism. Magnetism goes on infinitely on its own, and that's what we are. And so we need to eat substances that are magnetoelectric, like we are. And what's the most electric food out there? People know that. It's fruit, fresh, ripe fruit, right off the tree. Yeah, there's issues with getting good fruit these days in a lot of parts of the world, but that could change really quick, really quick. For one thing, it's a supply and demand issue. They don't have any problem getting the Cheetos in the stores and making those cheap. So we can also plant fruit trees everywhere and start fruit forest, which is something I'm looking to do. I like to talk about it because I want to manifest it, so I know somehow that'll happen. And yeah, meat is so cruel for one thing, and it's bad for our health. Most of our health issues are because of our diet, because we eat cooked foods, which are denatured. And most cooked foods cause our bodies to have excess acid. And no, we don't need this excess acid to digest foods that we're supposed to be eating. Fruit. So yeah, if you're eating meat, you do need that extra acid, and that's why your body makes it. And then you get all this acid in your system backed up because your cells have to eliminate, just like you have to eliminate. And if it doesn't happen in a proper manner with the proper system working the proper way, things get backed up just like a sewer system, and gives you acidosis, which is the cause for pretty much every disease out there. So the good news is, if you only eat fruit, you won't get any disease, and if you do get a disease, switch to all fruit and you'll be cured of it. Now, depending on how far off you are, if you're stage 4 cancer, it might be too late, but probably not. Probably not. There's been some really extreme results with eating fruit and fasting as well. But if you were really extreme, if I got a diagnosis of stage 4 cancer and I didn't have any money or only had enough money to get one thing, I would get grapes and juice those for as long as I could and then fast in between. Because if we get out of the way, our body will heal itself. And if we give it the proper stuff, then it won't even need to be healed. We'll be well all the time. As Dr. Robert Morse says, we'll be in Wellville. And if you haven't seen his video, The Great Lymphatic System, I highly suggest it. It's in at least one of my playlists on this channel. So everybody should understand that. And once you understand it, it's so clear and it makes so much sense. And it makes sense that we're frugivores. Think about it. Back in the day, what is it easier to do? Hunt and then cut this animal up and then we cook it? If we were true carnivores, we would just be able to grab a rabbit, or a cat, bite into it, kill it easily, and then bite into it and enjoy what we're eating. And I don't know anybody that does that. And, just think about it. Use common sense and discernment and get out of the programming. We've all been programmed very well, and the food psyop is the biggest one because it keeps us all so unhealthy and dependent on the allopathic medicine industry, which even in the book says it is the second leading cause of death, medical errors, which we know it's bigger than that. And then if you count in all the pharmaceuticals and that people die from pharmaceuticals that don't even go on their records, which my sister was one of those. So yeah, and then you have the pharmaceutical industry that's supported by people's poor health. And then you even got a lot of alternative therapies that wouldn't be needed. And, some of those are good and legitimate, but then, of course, everything can get corrupted for the almighty dollar, as we know. So we just need to get back to basics with everything, especially what we consume daily. We should just be getting the right fruit in our areas and eating it. Grow fruit trees. A lot of fruit trees will fruit in the first year. I know papayas is one of those. That's what I want to try to plant, some papaya trees. And whatever will work, and trade and find farmers markets and co-ops and get the good live raw food. And yeah, vegetables are okay too, but most vegetables we don't digest too well unless they're cooked. But leafy greens, something we would eat out in nature. But if we have our preference over leafy greens and fresh ripe mango, I would take the fresh ripe mango. Some people might want the leafy greens, but just saying, fruit it just makes sense. It makes sense. It makes sense, and if you haven't tried yet, try to go a week where you only eat fruit or you only juice fruit. Do orange juice all week or grape juice or a variety of juices, but juice them fresh and go a whole week and see how you feel after a whole week. And then go back to eating some of your other stuff and see how you feel then. When you get really cleaned out with a fruitarian diet, you'll notice every little thing you put in your system and what works and what doesn't. And I know it's so hard in today's age with all the temptations with the processed junk food, which I am a junk food junkie, so I can relate. And the delicious cooked food everywhere with all the spices and aromas. But the chemistry of these foods, when they get cooked, are foreign to our bodies. So they set off immune responses and detox responses, and that's why so many things form mucus right away when you eat them. I know people that eat, as soon as they eat, they got to blow their nose 100 times. Or, that's not how it's supposed to be. You only eat fruit. You don't have any of these issues. You're clean, you're lively, you're energetic. In fact, some people have to throw in some non-fruit just to ground themselves again. And if you want to get in touch with Source, with God, whatever you want to refer to the Creator as, get on all fruit. You'll be much closer to everything, all of nature. And the harm that it does to the animals is horrific. These animals are just, it's horrible. It's just horrible. Watch the movie Earthlings, the documentary Earthlings, or there's several others out there, and watch them. And face the facts. Face the facts. It's cruel to eat meat. It's totally cruel. And it's bad for your health. So why would anyone eat it? It doesn't even taste good unless it's seasoned and cooked. Get over that addiction. If you only get over one addiction in life, get over the meat addiction, because it's the worst one. It's probably worse for you than any other addiction you could have. Because it's so acceptable and expected. I mean, parents get their kids taken away for feeding them mostly fruit, but if they take them to McDonald's every day after school, that's perfectly acceptable. That's just ridiculous. It's time to shift this paradigm. And a lot of truthers out there, they just want to ignore this whole issue of species-specific diet or claim that we're carnivores. Well, if you really look into it, honestly, you do your research, you will see there's no way that we're carnivores. We are frugivores, 100%. Anybody that can prove me wrong, I would love to hear from you, because I'll debate this all day. We are frugivores. And yeah, and your life will change so much, in such great ways if you decided to look into this way of life and go into it and transition into it. It's just unimaginable. It brings you closer to nature, where you're supposed to be. It makes sense. You take in biophotons every day. That's what we need. We need the biophotons. We don't need all the amino acids that are in some dead animal. Our body makes our own amino acids, and they're all in fruit. Fruit gives us the carbohydrates we need, the glucose we need, the amino acids we need. It gives us the water we need. It gives us everything. It's simple. Nature's always simple. And this is a perfect example. No other species cooks their food. It doesn't make us more evolved that we do. In fact, there's a lot of evidence that we're not as evolved as some animals. But yeah, we can use the fire as alchemy in other ways. Definitely with the medicinal plants. But it's not meant to cook our food and denature it. Sure, some things you put a sweet potato out in the sun all day and let it soften up. I could see something like that, but we're meant for fruit. So go get you some delicious fruit and research into humans being frugivores, and at least stop eating meat and think it through. Just think the cruelty part of it, the cruelty of the animals and what they go through, and the trauma. If any of you out there know about adrenochrome, well, when you eat the meat from a traumatized animal, that's part of what you're ingesting, and maybe that's what you're addicted to. But we can get over addictions, and that's one that, to me, it really needs to be gotten over by everybody en masse. And it's not part of this whole vegan agenda that's being pushed by the NWO. They're all pushing processed foods. I'm talking fruit. Natural fruit, not GMO fruit. Fruit that you grow yourself and your community grows and you exchange the different fruits. We can do that pretty quick. In the meantime, we can go buy it. And it's way better than anything else out there. So, alright, thanks for listening, and I'd love to hear anyone's feedback. Ciao.